How much do you think this mare will weigh, Guido?
About 600 pounds, I guess.
Well, it must be about 400 on that brown, huh?
Just about, yeah.
Must be about 800 on the stallion.
Oh, a little light. It'll be about 1,900, 2,000 pounds.
Well, how does that all come out?
Well, 6 cents a pound. It'll be about $110, $120.
How do you want to cut it up?
Any way you like. I'll take 50 for myself in the plane.
Okay. I ought to have about 40 for the truck and me. That leaves 25 for you, Purse. Is that all right? Purse!
No, you fellas take it. I just came along for the ride anyway.
Welcome to Kermode Uncut. In UK cinemas at the moment, there is a reissue of the 1961 Marilyn Monroe, Clark Gable, Montgomery Clift film, The Misfits, which is a very strange and grim and in many ways misshapen piece of work, but really bears seeing again. I saw it way back in the 80s, back at Manchester University. I think it was projected on a 16mm film, and I hadn't seen it since then, so I went to the BFI when they were reissuing it to see it projected, and it really was, you know, a very impressive but depressing piece of work. Now, at the same time, there's been a reissue of Freaks.
They're going to make you one of them.
We talked recently on the blog about the reissue of Robert Sheldmack's Cry of the City, and we've got a reissue of The Third Man coming up in cinemas. Many of these are tied to forthcoming Blu-ray reissues. And one of the questions that's raised is this. A couple of people have got in touch and said, look, you're always going on about reissues and, you know, you're making a big thing of it, but there are limited numbers of screening spaces in the UK, and there are all these British movies, all these small independent films that are struggling to find screens. Do we really need our screens cluttered up with films which have already been released, which are about to be available on Blu-ray and DVD? Is it such a good thing? Well, I think it is, and there are two reasons, and here they are. The first one is you can't beat seeing a film projected. Certainly seeing The Misfits, even in the fairly small screening room that I saw it in, just seeing it projected on a screen with an audience, it looked like something different to what it would have looked like on DVD or on a small computer screen. I'm really glad I saw it projected. It made me pay attention to it. It drew my attention to things I wouldn't have noticed. But the other thing is this. It's to do with the legacy of rep cinema. See, I'm really old. And when I was a kid going to the movies, rep cinema was a very commonplace phenomenon. Basically, cinemas would program movies from the present and from the past, constantly getting reissues. I remember going to see Ben-Hur as a reissue. I remember seeing Cleopatra as a reissue, all the Planet of the Apes movies as reissues. I remember going to late night screenings, double bills of Cronenberg movies, double bills of David Lynch movies. The idea that the past and present of cinema coexisted was completely all-pervasive, not just in art house cinemas, but also in mainstream cinemas. At any time, you could run your fingers down the listings in the newspaper and you'd find a bunch of movies that were not new. They were reissues, but they were there because there was a demand for them. Why is that important? Because it's to do with cinema not just being about the moment. It's to do with the living, breathing history of cinema. Yes, there are a limited number of screens in the UK, but you know what? A huge number of those screens are being block booked with different versions of the same blockbuster. I do want small independent British movies to get screen space, but not at the expense of those reissues. As far as I'm concerned, going to the cinema should be a way of introducing yourself to the entire wonderful history of cinema. Now, maybe you feel differently. If so, let me know. But as far as I'm concerned, I am very happy that these kind of reissues happen, even if they're only fleeting and in advance of a Blu-ray release.
You ever been outside Reno, Mrs. Tabor?
Once I walked to the edge of town. Doesn't look like there's much out there.
Everything's there.
Like what?
The country.
Well, what do you do with yourself?
Just live.
How do you just live?
Well, you start by going to sleep. You get up when you feel like it. You scratch yourself. You fry yourself some eggs. You see what kind of a day it is. Throw stones at a can. Whistle.
I know what you mean.